Hi, Bother Brigade. Here's what's bothering me today. I am very much sick and tired of all the discourse around Russia and Ukraine these days, where we have people basically just like going all or nothing on several stupid things, or they're just really picking a side. And it's like, and there's like stupid political points going on too, right? It's like, oh, I told you, or blah blah, and like very real people are suffering and dying right now. And I feel like that's being lost in the sauce of, internet political points between debate bros and random armchair generals. Now, again, fair point against me. I am somewhat guilty of this, having made now 2 Ukraine videos, one a month ago and the other one like the day before yesterday or something like that, or possibly even yesterday. But the core thing for me, right, is those were explaining the situation, not trying to be like Russia good, America bad, or America good, Russia bad. As I point out, it's bigger than all of this and still supremely stupid because, of course, it comes down to capital and money because of fucking course it does. And so, unfortunately, while the rest of the internet is going on and on about Putin and World War III and what's going to happen and we need to unequivocally support one side or the other, very real innocent Ukrainians are suffering and dying right now. And so that is going to be the focus of today's video. So here's what we're going to do, right? We're going over 6 different charities that are actually meaningfully helping Ukrainians or people trying to help Ukrainians. So with that, let's start with charity number 1. Charity number 1 is Operation Solidarity. Operation Solidarity is, as the name suggests, a kind of mutual aid network that is operating in Ukraine to actually help Ukrainians flee the crisis. Any donations you send to them will be to providing basic necessities. So, we're talking anything from like infant formula to diapers, bottles, to blankets, clothes, food, money to, pay for buses or train tickets or whatever to get out of an area, like bus fare, whatever it may be. They are doing actual meaningful work to try and help the average Ukrainian trying to flee the crisis currently engulfing their nation. The second charity is Hope for Ukraine. Hope for Ukraine does a variety of things. So, for example, they tend to really focus on families and children. So they make monthly grocery packages for families in great need. They are dedicated to improving the quality of life for poor children and youth. So they provide basic necessities, medical supplies and treatment. They also provide support and rehabilitation for wounded soldiers and veterans from the Eastern conflict. So, I know some people may be a little wary about that, and so I want to mention that here just in case that's one where people think, maybe not. But generally speaking, they're doing pretty good work trying to focus on supporting families and children. The third charity, and this one's a little more interesting, is the Anarchist community in Ukraine. Here's a PayPal donation link for people to actually send direct funds to an anarchist group that is organizing during this crisis. They're basically helping with transportation, necessary goods and supplies, and medical supplies as well. The next charity is the International Rescue Committee. The International Rescue Committee is currently trying to rush critical aid to displaced families in Ukraine. And as their name implies, their main thing is trying to get people out of conflict zones into a zone of relative safety and helping them manage basically what's to be expected with that sudden transition and change, how to navigate different, agencies, documentation. So again, they're trying to, I guess to a certain extent, provide a smooth transition towards becoming a refugee and getting people to safety. They focus on economic well-being, education, health, empowerment, safety. So it's good stuff that they are doing to try and help people who are suddenly made the most vulnerable. And then the next charity we have is another interesting one that is supporting anarchists. It is actually the Anarchist Black Cross of Moscow. ABC Moscow is supporting repressed anti-authoritarians who are repressed for their political activities or actions which do not conflict anarchist ideals. Financial support for prisoners is often necessary. Often financial resources are needed. For this, we have set up a fund. Money from our fund is allocated to legal support, material support, for example, medical aid, and food parcels for prisoners. Yeah, so what ABC Moscow does is they provide help and support with people who are jailed, which, as we've seen with the massive protests and also mass arrests happening across Russia right now as people counter-protest against the war in Ukraine, they, of course, could use every little bit of help because there's, at least as of recording, 1,700 people who have been jailed for protesting the war throughout Russia. And then the final charity is United Help Ukraine. United Help Ukraine is largely focused on providing medical supplies, humanitarian aid, raising awareness, and also helping wounded veterans. And so again, if people are kind of nervous about that, understandable, but so far it seems like they're mostly just doing things like a veteran had his car broken down, so like we're trying to get funds to either fix his car or replace the car, that kind of stuff, right? It's more about providing support for former soldiers as opposed to funding, say, paramilitaries that are currently going to go out and fight in Ukraine or Russia or wherever it may be. And there we have it, 5 or 6 charities that are actually doing good work. These are places that have gotten really good charity scores in terms of not, just lining the pockets of their organizers and saying, look, we're doing such good charitable work. Please pay no attention to the fact that most of the money is going to me personally. So it's been checked in that regard. And then, as you'll note, several of those were basically just direct anarchist mutual aid networks that are doing good work trying to help political, dissidents or people who've been jailed for protesting, or just actually trying to help, local people in communities to safely escape the current conflict and violence, and providing support and empowerment to those people displaced by the conflict. Because no matter where you fall on the current debate, which, as I've pointed out before, is really stupid to frame it that way, but if you, are so insistent on, oh, I gotta make sure I'm on one side of this hot button topic, it's far more complicated than that, and it also grotesquely ignores the very real needs of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of Ukrainians who have been displaced by this conflict. Anyone who needs help should receive help. It's a part of our, I don't know if you want to call it basic humanitarian duty or something like that, but I'm really tired of seeing all this nonsense go around about the conflict and not the very real people that are being impacted by it. So that's what we're trying to do today. As always, links will be provided in the description down below. I encourage everyone to try and find at least 1 or 2 charities that you don't mind throwing a fistful of dollars at to help people in Ukraine in need. Pick your favorite or donate to a bunch of them. I don't care, just so long as you actually try and help people who are suffering. Because there are very real people suffering in Ukraine right now as we speak, as you're watching this. And they seem to have been completely forgotten as we focus on all the spectacle and what amounts for debate. And it's the very real people who are being affected. And that just doesn't sit right with me, that instead the attention seems to be on everything else. I shouldn't have to make something like this, but we live in this weird hellish dystopia. And so this was unfortunately necessary. And that's what's bothering me today.